Turf Business TV are here today in Leamington Spa. We're at the Bowls England National Championships and I'm joined by Alistair Hollis, who's the Operational Services Manager for Bowls England. Alistair, thanks very much. Obviously you've got a lot going on here, so thank you for your time today. Before we get into more detailed stuff, just tell us a little bit about your role with Bowls England. What
Yeah,
does your job
sure.
involve?
I mean, it's a very varied role. I mean, we're quite a small team, so we sort of have two separate functions really. Operational services being the stuff that you can see really. So that's, it's the running of the championships, it's sponsorship, it's marketing, international events. Really, all of the events fall under our wing. We also have the other I'm going to say sexy stuff that goes on within the business services team. That's just the running of the organisation, the stuff perhaps that you don't see. But generally speaking, our prime focus, and especially during the championships, is to make sure that the players get on the green at the right time, at the right place, and all the matches go to a conclusion.
And as the national governing body for the flat bowls side of things, what's the organisation's responsibilities to the game as a whole?
Really, we are sort of the custodians of the sport. Bowls England has got 35 county associations who we operate with. Underneath that, then there are approximately 2,500 clubs, and we've got a responsibility to each and every one of those really to make sure that they get the support that they require. So yes, it's running events, but during the course of the year, it's helping clubs with various issues. Might be legal, might be disciplinary, might be constitutional. We also offer them advice when perhaps they run into difficulties. For example, at the moment, a number of clubs are facing different issues with local councils, putting different pressures on them now, changing perhaps leases that have held for 100 years, and councils are looking to change that. At any of those points, we might be called upon to offer advice to clubs and to secretaries to try and help them over those hurdles.
And how much help do you give greenkeepers, whether they're professional or volunteers?
We will, certainly as a body, we run a greens maintenance advisory service that has a county coordinator in each of our 35 counties who are there, and they can be called upon. So it might well be that the greenkeeper turns up at his club and perhaps hasn't got that specialist knowledge on perhaps a piece of disease in the green or something. He's got somebody he can call on who will come out free of charge. That person will give the advice on how to treat it, and then it's obviously for the club to perhaps pick up the tab on actually doing the repairs that are necessary. In addition, we also are able to send people on courses, so perhaps say Institute of Groundsmanship courses, and any club who goes on those courses, we will reimburse them up to 50% of the cost of the course.
Okay.
So, and again, it's trying to get that knowledge out there. I think greenkeeping is an art, and I think it's for those members who are doing the greens who play a vital, at the end of the day, the green is probably the most important thing that happens in the whole sport. So it's good for us to be able to get that knowledge out there and try and grow that knowledge amongst our membership.
And if there are greenkeepers out there or clubs that want to find out more about that, do they approach Bowls England or do they go to their local county?
No, if they would come to, certainly, contact Bowls England in the first instance, and then we can refer them on as necessary to try and advise them. But like I say, it's up to 50% of the course cost, so hopefully it's a real benefit of membership for the clubs concerned.
Absolutely. Well, we'll possibly pick up on more of that later. You mentioned that there's a 50% contribution perhaps towards courses with the IOG. Are there any other financial benefits that your members can get?
Not so much for greens maintenance, no. I mean, yes, we also offer various bursaries to people who perhaps want to do coaching and things like that. And we'll also offer advice to clubs who wish to obtain funding, perhaps from external grants. And we also offer up to a development loan to clubs. So if a club wants to do some work and sort of are struggling to get some finance, we can offer a loan there. Similarly, we'll also offer loans to clubs who are perhaps looking to obtain mowers and things like that. So yes, there's financial support there, but primarily the bursary is there for the greens maintenance side.
And do you work with any suppliers or manufacturers to get good deals for people?
We haven't got any specific deals with manufacturers. We've got a number of manufacturers and suppliers that work with us that are either sponsors or partners or supporters of Bowls England. So there are companies out there that we have a relationship with, but we would leave it to individual clubs to actually make the decision for themselves.
But you can put them in touch if they
exactly,
want a
yeah, correct.
Okay, that's great. One of the things you touched on earlier, Alistair, was the fact that some of the assistance you're giving may be because councils are looking to dispose of the greens that your members are playing on. Is the game itself under threat from inner city development and the lack of playing facilities?
I don't feel the game itself is under threat, but certainly I think it would be remiss of us not to recognise that certainly there's potential there that a number of clubs are going to have to either change the way that they've operated, or perhaps move away or whatever. Councils are it's an economic situation at the moment that councils are looking to cut costs, and certainly the maintenance of any sports facility, not just bowls but football, cricket, rugby. I think anybody who actually has a council input are potentially going to see changes to the way that services are offered in the future. And that's again something that we've looked to work with clubs on, and whether it's helping them to take over the clubs. We've got one example down in the Watford area where a number of clubs were under threat, and they actually worked together as a group to bring on board the skills necessary to take over the ownership of those rinks, and that's great. There are others out there who perhaps haven't got that same either knowledge or desire to do that, and perhaps do need to go on and move on to other clubs. But it is an unfortunate state that councils are looking to change the way they offer sport to people, and bowls is no exception to that.
So whether that's the funding of the upkeep of the greens, or whether that's actually wanting to dispose of the space itself to develop, then
that's correct.
You can help with.
Yes, and again we did a few years ago now. We actually had an event outside the Houses of Parliament to raise the awareness to the MPs at the time, to say that bowls is a sport that potentially could be under threat from developers of that. And it was to try and bring in some protections, and actually one of the bills that went through Parliament has actually given us a little bit more security locally. I think under the localism bill there's a little bit more protection now for sports assets, so that's a positive thing that was done on behalf of the members, but there still needs to be a core membership at that club to actually then drive on the support necessary.